Yeah, hi, I'm Michael Fritzell. I run a Substack called Asian Century Stocks, which is about value stocks in the Asia Pacific. And yeah, thanks for inviting me, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I've just been watching your success on Substack and also following you through Twitter. And I think you've got over 11,000 free subscribers and enough paid subscribers to be earning like over six figures, I think. So, in just under 3 years. So yeah, talk me through how that happened.
Close to that number, almost 300 subscribers, paid subscribers, and about 12,000 on the free list. And started 2 years ago. Or rather, I should be more specific because I actually started on WordPress for a few months before that. And then I realized it's not working. Like whatever I was doing was not working. I managed to gather like 100 emails, and I was doing serious research, working really hard, and I couldn't get traction. And in April 2021, I started the Substack, and I did it with a splash. Like I started with a paid service right from the get-go, and I announced that I would focus on Asian equities, doing deep dives, at least 20 per year. At that time, I think there was perhaps a little bit less competition because people did pay attention. I didn't get many paid subscribers, but I got quite a few free ones. And over time, I think when people starting to trust you that I would actually do what I promised, then slowly I started to grow a little bit. But the reason I started the Substack was because I wanted to have some autonomy. I was working on the buy side, and I was working at that time, just before I was started, I was working as a consultant, almost doing research for a fund based in Europe. It's given me a platform to focus on what I love to do. So that was the reason, really. And I thought, it can't be too hard to kind of replicate the success that people like Evan Dorsey had. It was probably harder than I thought. Potentially, the success can be limitless because online there are millions of people, like ridiculous numbers. So there are many people who could be interested. So that I was tempted by this unlimited potential of a Substack. I think to answer your question, why did I start? Another reason was that I saw synergies with managing my own money and doing Substack, because hopefully, if I spend all my time doing research, hopefully I'll find some company that's investable and they can make money off.
Exactly. I really like the way you kind of set out exactly what you're going to offer and the consistency. You said you have to wait until people build confidence in the consistency of what you're putting out, but it's very clear what you're providing on your Substack. I think that's probably quite key. You were obviously doing a job that you said you wanted to get more freedom and do more autonomous work. So how did you kind of transition to doing this, or did you just stop your work and then do the Substack, or was it over a time period? How did that work out?
No, I didn't feel it was ethical to do this on the side of actually working with another fund. So no, I quit my job and I did this in one go. So frankly, it's a risk, and I set aside like quite a bit of money to keep me going for 2 years, which I thought was what was necessary to reach break even. I had some margin of safety, I thought. Now it's taken a little bit longer. I'm close to break even, but not quite, like on a personal level. Given I have tuition payments and housing and so on to pay for. But yeah, so I did this all in one go, and it is risky.
Yeah.
I think to be perfectly honest, had I done it again, it is not the safe way to just quit your job and hope for success. Ideally, if you can, I think you should start with to test the idea first, see if it works, see if it gets traction, and then make a decision.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a catch-22 as well. Like, do you go full out and then you really build the quality and the quantity that you want, and then you obviously need to do that full time, or do you build it gradually and then flip over? Probably gradually and flip over is what you're saying is the safer way of doing it.
When I invest in a company, I want to see the business model working first.
Yeah.
Like I want to see some proof that the business model works. Maybe there's a parallel in another country, or maybe they're already profitable. But yeah, applying that principle to my own business, yeah, it probably makes sense to make sure that there is interest, that there's at least a few people who want to pay for whatever you're offering.
So kind of thinking about ways that is there any other kind of things that you would think, oh, if I'd have done it again, I'd do it differently, or to other people that are starting out, any kind of advice?
I think, yeah, I mean, having a niche is a great way to go about it. I think that's mostly from marketing perspective, because people put you in a category, like they associate you with something, hopefully something.
Yeah.
Oh, and what is that going to be? You know, if you're only focusing on water utilities, you can become that guy who the water utilities guy, and you will probably absolutely dominate that global niche because I mean, maybe the total addressable market isn't huge, but you can certainly make it into decent business, I think, because there are people surprisingly who are interested in that.
Yeah, there's enough people in a niche to actually make it worthwhile. Yeah, I agree. I think niche is very important. Are there any kind of other elements that you think are key to success other than a niche?
I think a clear value proposition, like saying, "Oh, this is how you can benefit from whatever I'm doing." People have so much to think about. You know, they want to get you to they have like attention spans, I think, online of like 2 seconds, and if we don't make it clear, they're gonna just switch to another page. You know, go to another tab. So getting the value proposition out there, making it really clear what it is, I think is important. And then to maybe connect it to some kind of distinctive logotype or design that makes it clear that you are something distinctive and unique. I mean, Substacks, there are so many of them, and they all kind of look the same. So I actually hired a design firm who I know through friends, and I paid quite a bit for that. I'm almost ashamed to say it, but in hindsight, it was probably worth it because I cannot replicate, you know, beautiful logotypes or design.
How much kind of in the region of price range would people expect to spend on that kind of branding? It's clearly quite important.
Well, you can probably get it on Fiverr for very little, you know, for
Right.
tens of dollars. I paid about $1,000 for it. It's risky, right? Like I think, I suppose, if you're an entrepreneur, you should do things gradually.
Yeah. And what about advertising? Do you pay for advertising, or do you social media outlets or anything like that?
No, I've tried a little bit, Google Ads, and I don't think that worked. I figured out why. The reason is I'm creating such niche content. You have to have fantastic targeting to find those people. And frankly, it's much better to just spend time talking to people in the industry. Like you have a couple of podcasts, like Bloomberg Odd Lots and all these. I mean, if you get on those, the crowd who uses a Bloomberg terminal, for example, that is a way better way. But it's also more time effective because you find people who are actually truly interested in what you have to say.
Right, yeah. So because it's niche, you need to go to the niche podcasts and the niche outlets to find your audience, and that makes complete sense. Yeah. Also, the benefit of recording videos or podcasts or whatever is that they stay permanent. You know, people can always find you there, and they can always find other ones if they're interested. So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I still wonder maybe if there was some agency that could help you with your advertising reach.
Probably. You know, before doing this, I had no experience in marketing, and frankly, people had told me that I'm doing good work, but marketing not as good.
When you started your Substack, and like I think this is a lot an issue for some people when they're starting Substack, is that you just get very slow momentum, and then it gradually builds, and once you've got a bigger reach, then you suddenly get more and more, and it's kind of exponential growth potentially. How did that work out for you, and how did that feel?
The first day, I got like 3 subscribers, all my friends. They were all my friends, and I was expecting like 50 or something. So it wasn't easy. But over the next year, I did some podcast. I also did cross promotions, and that was helpful because you know, people started paying attention to you. And then the first year was quite good in terms of growth. I think I got like 230 paid subscribers or something like that, or maybe 200. And then in April 2022, growth kind of stopped. In hindsight, I think I was stupid in many ways. But one thing that I did was I stopped doing the free trials.
Right.
And I think that was definitely a mistake, because people need to try out what you have to say. Otherwise, they will probably assume that my Substack is just like the average Substack out there. There is a funnel, right? You start with perhaps you see my tweet on Twitter, and then perhaps they go to my profile page, then they go to the Substack, then they sign up for the Substack free email, then they read a post, and then they see a call to action at the bottom, and maybe then they sign up. But you got to make it as easy, as frictionless through each of these points, so they don't drop along the way. And since I started putting on the free trials again, growth has picked up a little bit again. After being flat for a year, the paid subscriber numbers. I talk about small stocks. The market for that is fairly limited. So in the last few months, last 4 or 5 months, I've also started to do more broader topics, like the tourism recovery in Asia. That's a way that I've been adjusting, I guess, to the reality.
So focusing on some current events helps then.
I mean, you gotta have something that's niche, that makes you special, that makes you unique. Perhaps it's your own voice. That could be enough, perhaps. But at the same time, some people have to be interested in it. So yeah, I don't have the answer to how niche you should go, but it is good to create your own category in the minds of readers, I think.
And so how long do you spend writing? You've got different kind of products, but you've got your deep dives, and then you've got more kind of updates and stuff. So how long do you spend on, say, a deep dive? Is there an average time that you have?
Yeah, okay. I spend on my computer, I have a Mac, and it tells me how much time I spend each day. So it's usually like 8 hours, maybe sometimes 9 hours, sometimes 7 hours per day. But that's on average. And on weekends, I don't work much. I spend time with my family. So basically, I probably on Monday to Thursday at least, I probably work 12 hours a day at least. Like solid work. So it's most of the time, frankly. I work a lot.
And so for your investment ideas or your deep dives, do you invest in all of them yourself?
No, I don't. And people complain about that a little bit. The truth is, I publish research or reports, even though they're not necessarily perfect in every way. So, for example, I wrote a report on Dream International, Hong Kong listed stock. Pretty bad related party transactions back and forth, with the assets being traded with the controlling shareholder. But I still put it out there because a lot of people are interested in it. You should not assume that I'm recommending the stock just because I'm writing about it. It's meant to be information and education about companies in the region.
Do you publish your portfolio?
Yes, I do. So you can see everything that I'm investing in.
Yeah.
I don't recommend others to invest like I do, but yeah, I do write about it, and I do write as well as how my thinking went into that process of setting up a portfolio.
And I like the recent book review that you did, just on China, I think it was, and corruption, and that was great because it just showed that you've got a real authority in that kind of region, and you know a lot about it, and you've got your opinions on it, and yeah, I guess that just shows the depth of knowledge that you have and the passion for it.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of passion, regardless of who the person is, who the author is of the Substack. If you're focusing on one part of the world or one sector, you will become an expert on it.
Kind of talking about how important a niche is to your customers, and who is your kind of average customer? Have you kind of looked at that?
I feel like half of them are professional fund managers. I think a lot of them appreciate what I do. And then the rest, I think a lot of them are perhaps semi-professionals. Maybe they've been professionals in the past and now retired, or you're just very smart, intelligent private investors.
And you mentioned that your clients are very sophisticated investors. How do they interact with you? Do you notice that by the comments that they leave on your Substack, or how have you sensed that?
Yes, I mean, a lot of people. I keep in contact with a lot of people by Twitter via WhatsApp, via Telegram, whichever way people want to talk to me. So I'm also interested, like I'm personally investing myself, and I would love to get good ideas. So I talk to a lot of people, and if they become paid subscribers, I also reply just to say hi, to keep it like a personal contact.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think having this online presence, a massive benefit of that is that you do build your network and you do meet interesting people and get new ideas and stuff like that. So what is you've touched on, you like cheap stocks and obviously focusing on Asia, but how would you define your investment philosophy?
It's quite explicitly defined as value with a catalyst. I'm looking for value stocks, but a situation where investors will buy it. So there's this concept of buying before somebody else does. That's usually how the price goes up. You need to have buying pressure, and something needs to happen for that to take place. So I want to have, others estimate revisions, analysts changing their minds about a stock. Perhaps they're really negative, and then something positive will happen. I like looking forward to some positive surprise. And then with analyst revisions, you will have recommendations and investors starting to buy. So those types of catalysts are the ones that I'm looking for. But yeah, value with the catalyst is really that's what worked for me, at least.
Who do you admire in terms of investors, and who do you draw inspiration from?
Well, I admire Peter Lynch. He's all of his books have just so much common sense in them. He's been able to invest across so many different types of situations, turnarounds and growth stocks and so on, and done well across all of them. So I think there's so much to learn there. I think you can go back to those books and get something out of them almost every time you read them. And he also talked about it in John Train's book, Money Masters of Our Time, which I highly recommend.
Have you got any other recommendations? Any favorites?
Oh, I got so many. I think John Train's is a fantastic book to start with when it comes to investing. Yeah, maybe some Warren Buffett book, like the Warren Buffett Way. I think that could be helpful to people. Claire Barnes at Apollo Investment. Mm-hmm. I think she's done wonderfully, like over time. And then there's a guy at Fidelity Asian Values who I respect a lot. I kind of like Richard Lawrence at Overlook. I think his book, The Model, is maybe the best one on investing in the region, in Asia. It talks in great detail, how he approached the investing and on each specific company and why he was attracted to them. And he has long experience. I think he's compounded capital at like 14% per year, something like that for, I don't know, has it been 30 years now, 35 years maybe? That's impressive in this region because Asia is notoriously difficult to invest in.
I guess moving back onto Substack focused questions, you've been quite big on the notes lately. Can you talk me through how you see Substack developing and their new notes, which is like a competitor to Twitter, or might be?
I hope it will become that. It might take a long time because you got to get these people, normal people, to get onto the platform. Right now, it's great because my notes, they are seen. Like I get as many likes on Twitter as on notes, even though I think there are very few people on notes. But at least they get seen. On Twitter, you have to go through this algorithm which works in mysterious ways. So, I tweet things, but they may not be seen unless I write something really controversial or, hostile, whatever. It's annoying. Like the whole platform is really annoying. So I wish that Notes is going to take off. But at the same time, right now it's mostly writers on Notes. And while they are maybe more likely to subscribe to Substacks, they probably won't subscribe to mine because it's very niche. I'm hopeful that for people who are interested in what I have to say, at least they can get a feed in Substack Notes where they can see exactly what I write instead of tweets getting lost. So I'm hoping for it, but yeah, not quite there yet.
Interesting. When you publish a Substack, article, you get it gives you stats on it and says, oh, you've got this many subscribers from Twitter or Substack, whatever. And when I post, that seemed to get quite a high number from Substack itself rather than Twitter, which surprises me. I'm thinking like, how do people find me on Substack? I don't even know that. How does that work? And what do your stats look like? Where do you get clients
I
from?
used to get most from Twitter, but I get the sense that since Musk took over, I think the tweets don't show up much anymore. Only in certain instances where people reply a lot, but certainly links to Substack, they don't show up anymore, very rarely. So, for example, I do these Monday morning links. I send them out. I personally think that they're good, like this good value. I do it for free. If I tweet that, I don't get any likes from that.
Mm.
So I don't know if people see it. It probably doesn't even show up. I get the best people, the best subscribers from podcasts or from cross promotions with other Substack writers, because then they know who I am, what I do, and whether that they might be interested. Frankly, you asked about like mistakes that people have made, in Substack, other than like just having boring design. Another mistake I think they do is that they have these paywalls too quickly.
Right.
You have to adding value first is important, and then you can ask them for a for a subscription maybe.
Yeah, makes sense. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or highlight? Your work.
Yeah, you can find my Substack, asiancentrystocks.com. If you're interested, I do like free links every Monday morning. So I mostly link to my own content, but now I also link to podcasts, long form writing. So if you're interested in that, you can go to the Substack. And of course, if you're interested in deep dives and more thematic research, it's you can become a paid subscriber. So I guess that's it. But generally speaking as well, like you can reach out. I'm always happy to speak to people. I'm on Twitter. Twitter handle is @Fritz FRITZ 844.
I'll provide a link and stuff at the bottom so people can find you. Oh, thanks so much for that, Michael. I really appreciate that. It's just fascinating to hear how you've built up that Substack. Yeah, and I really appreciate the niche and the specialist subject kind of matter that obviously makes a big difference to getting the audience. I think that's a big takeaway for me.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah,
And,
great to chat. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Okay, see you.